Hi, my name is Leah and welcome to my Booktube Newbie video. One of the reasons I feel as though I've never actually uploaded a Booktube video before is because I didn't like the Booktube Newbie questions. Now I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I mean that perhaps as an older reader they may not have been as relevant to me as perhaps some of the younger booktubers out there. So, because if we think about booktube years like dog years, 1 to 7 say, that makes me what? 322 in booktube years. So I thought, after seeing Shawn the Bookmaniac and Steve Donahue with their Grab and Gab Tag, I thought of a brilliant idea, a mashup of the two. I've got 5 books or collections of books who highlight who I am as a reader, my journey through my reading life, and highlight what I want to achieve with this channel. And I think it's a really good way to manage the Booktube Newbie and the Grab and Go simultaneously, and hopefully you'll find it interesting as well. So the question that is often asked is what book or books got you into reading? Now, I was blessed with both parents and in particular one aunt who are voracious readers, and my aunt bought me books every year of my life as a child and continues to do so now as an adult, and luckily now I can reciprocate to her as well. And Suzanne has been such a blessing in my bookish life. 2 of the books she gave me as a child were The World of Christopher Robin and Just Those Stories, Rudyard Kipling. Both of these books are ratty and tatty and have been well loved. I will never ever part with them. The stories of these books are just beautiful, so much so that Christopher Robin, I can recite this book word for word. The poems in here have stuck with me my whole life. The changing guards at Buckingham Palace, Christopher Robin went down with Alice. Alice is marrying one of the guards. A soldier's life is terribly hard, says Alice. So these books of my childhood are sweet and delightful, and I really just adore them. One of the other questions that is often brought up in the Booktube Newbie tag is, where do you like to read? And I like to read everywhere. I went to boarding school, and Catholic boarding school at that, and we had to attend Mass every day. And like most girls my age, we had to learn to sew. And in primary school, so when I was 12, we made this delightful Bible cover. So it has our school emblem, my initials, the date it was made. It is beautiful. And I took this Bible cover with me to Mass every single day of the week. The guidance, the enlightenment, the inspiration I received from this Bible cover is insurmountable in shaping and influencing me as a child. Now please don't think that this is a story of Saint Leah and how I devoured the Bible and I can quote it to you at any time. No. This Bible cover, and I don't know if I can show it to you, oh I can, is the perfect size to fit a Penguin Classic Edition book from the 70s and 80s. This one, Cry the Beloved Country. Oh my God, I've been looking for this. I knew I had a copy of this and I wanted to reread it, so I ended up buying another one. So there you go. I was such a studious participant in Mass that I read through, obviously, Cry the Beloved Country. I read through My Cousin Rachel the first time I read it. Oh, so many books fit inside this beautiful cover that the nuns were none the wiser. So I've always read everywhere I go. Now I always have a audiobook on the go, a book on my phone or Kindle, which I don't like reading ebooks. I usually have a non-fiction book on the go, and I often have 2 fiction books, one sort of highbrow, literary, and another, shall we just say, trash on the go, because I believe in a balanced reading diet. The third selection of books I want to talk about is books from my library. Now I am blessed, I'm here at work at the present, and I am blessed with my local library being 100 metres behind me, so I can pick up books at whim. So here I've just got my 3 current books that I have from the library, and they're all Australian authors because I'm Australian, and I'm really trying to read more and encourage people on Booktube to read more about Australian stories and from Australian authors. These three I don't really know much about. The Island Will Sink, Briony Doyle. I think Liv from the Book Nook recommended this, so I'm really excited about this one. Terra Nullius, a speculative or alternative history of colonisation, so I think that one will be very interesting. And The Paper House, Anna Spargo Ryan. I have this and The Golf both out at the present. So I'm blessed with the fact that I have access to an amazing library 100 metres from my work, and it's really exciting and accessible, and I try to use it as often as possible because access to books is the most important thing for any community to grow and to understand. Along those lines with Australian stories and Australian authors and being able to access Australian stories, I would really like here on Booktube to highlight issues and comments and themes from Australia as well, because there are some amazing Australian booktubers, but a lot of them do tend to focus on the YA sphere, and so I think it would be interesting to get some, in particular, non-fiction recommendations from Australia and other ideas. The Quarterly Essay is one of my favourite publications with respect to that. With the Quarterly Essay each quarter, scientifically, with the Quarterly Essay published each quarter, they have a number of really important themes, and as you can see on two previous ones, I tabbed the bejeebers out of them. This one, Stan Grant, The Australian Dream, Blood, History and Beginning, a fascinating insight to treatment of Indigenous people here in Australia and what we can do as a country as a whole to improve the conditions and the lives of the Australian Aborigines. I loved this essay. The next essay that I marked the tab out of, The White Queen, One Nation and the Politics of Race, which is actually a good counterpoint to the Stan Grant one in the fact that Pauline Hanson is becoming popular in our politics and creating such a divisive way of how we address our lives here in Australia, and it's fascinating insight into how and why and who discriminates against each other, and it's scary and small-minded and bigoted, and I found this interesting to highlight. Perhaps the whys I didn't understand previously, so I like that. And the third one of these I have to hand is Moral Panic. I spoke about this in my non-fiction November TBR, and I'm very much looking forward to this. Benjamin Law speaking about the Safe Schools program, which was a program here in Australia to encourage children to have acceptance and safety and support in their relationships, whether they're heterosexual relationships, same-sex relationships, whatever it looks like. So this one I'm very interested to read as well. I like the Quarterly Essay because I live in regional Australia. I don't live in the city, and so having access to forward thinkers and perhaps more radical views than I experience in my everyday life is really important to me. And these in-depth articles give the sensation of going to a lecture, having a discussion with these forward-thinking, engaging, challenging authors, and I feel as though it's a great way to educate myself because I don't live in the big cities. And finally, the fifth book I want to highlight. One of the questions that comes up in the Booktube Newbie tag is what interesting or quirky feature or words to that effect can you bring to Booktube? One of my quirks as a reader, I guess, is that I really love collecting old homemaker, or what do we call them? The domestic arts types books. Now, I'm a business owner. I am very much for women working. I'm very much a feminist. I love the whole idea of women taking over the world. Yet, I have this really soft nostalgic spot for the Vogue new book for better sewing, or vintage cookbooks, or vintage homemaker books. I think they are delightful. They're a snapshot into a life where women had wasp waists and wore brooches and hats with a veil to cocktails. We don't have this lifestyle now. And And whilst looking at the pictures, it makes it seem glamorous. I think from the 2020 vision we have here as in the 21st century, we know that life in these times was not the rosy picture that it is painted here, but I just love collecting these books. And perhaps over the course of my time here on Booktube, I'll highlight some of the beautiful, beautiful books I have from this era. So that's me in a nutshell. The Booktube Newbie mashed up with the Grab and Gab, selecting 5 books or 5 groups of books that highlight who I am as a reader and what I want to achieve here on Booktube. I hope you don't mind the mashup. I'd really love you to not just do the Grab and Gab tag, but perhaps do the Grab and Gab Booktube Newbie, where you are talking about 5 books who shaped you as a reader and what those books look like. But thank you. Please subscribe so I'm not just talking to the airways and talking to nobody. And I really, really look forward to talking to you all soon. Have a fabulous day.